y'all, I am here to talk to you about some products that I have frankened. I did not realize that it was actually something that other people do on a regular basis, but I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I don't like to waste product at all, and so I do everything I can to try to make it work for me. So, these are a couple of things that I have frankened, and if you're scared to do it, I would like to encourage you and go watch Jessica Lee. She does it all the time. I really hope that y'all don't feel like I'm washed up and I've run out of video ideas already, because I just put up the idea showing you alternative eyeshadows that you can use to recreate Paula's look, and now I am doing something, Jessica Lee does a good bit. But also Amanda D does frankening and panning and stuff. Rebecca from Panning and Stuff, she also does some frankening too. But since I'm on a no-buy, I am really trying to make things work. And I don't want to repurchase other things. I don't want to buy other things. I don't want to buy something, then not like it and it not work, and then have to buy something else and, throw that away or give it away to somebody who further may not like it and will throw it away. I just want to lessen the possibility of these things ending up in landfills. But that's enough of an intro. So I have my little sheet of scrapbook paper in zebra print kitty. No, this is not a time for you to be up on this table. I've taken over the kitty's table because this is the best place for me to do this. And she wants to get her grubby little paws up here so bad she can't stand it. But this is not kitty time. This is mama time. Okay, so this is my Chocolate Soleil bronzer. This is the just plain chocolate one. It's the medium. I think it's the medium to deep. As I've said many times, I'm on the light, or I'm on the medium end of light, or the light end of medium. I am right there, like on the cusp between the two. And so I use this bronzer because other bronzers don't show up on me. Nope, down kitty. Sorry, I'm going to have to keep doing that, and you're going to hear thuds of her jumping down off of my wheelchair because she's getting up on the arms and trying to get on the table. But if you will recall from my inventory video, I filmed that this was the pan from that giant, what I thought was going to be like a transition shade for me, because I had no idea it was that light when I ordered it. And then I also had a bronzer in a little 4 compact that I got for free that was way too dark. So I was trying to figure out what to do with those. Well, it turns out I'm going to swatch these for y'all. And I went ahead and opened my compacts so that it wouldn't be watch me struggle with a bronzer for a full minute again, because we went through that and I would not like to repeat that experience. Very few people would like to repeat, struggling for a full minute with something. So I hope my lighting is okay to where y'all can actually see this. But it is a pretty close dupe. Here, let me slide these out of the way. I have blush on my hand from last night when I was frankening. But the bottom one is the Too Faced, and the one to the right of it is the Frankened one. And they look pretty dang similar. This is sunlight, so... Okay, why is my camera doing that? It's kind of freaking out. There we go. But yeah, it's pretty close. The other one is a little bit orangier, but that's okay. So that's my first Franken. And it's pretty close. So I've got bronzer for like, 4 years probably. Also, I wanted to get the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. But if you know about what they did, they're selling in mainland China now. So they're a no-go for us cruelty-free gals. Okay, this is the little, what do you call this? Palette. That's what you call it. That I was talking about, that had that dark matte bronzer that I just frankened into that other bronzer. And it had a matte nude pink blush here. I could not get this to really show up on my skin. This and this are as they were. If you go back to that other video, what I put in here is I just pressed a nude blush that was loose into here. I probably need to add a little bit more. I use almond oil because it's what I had on hand, but jojoba works really well. And I want to think there's one more. It seems like most carrier oils, if you do aromatherapy or if you do any kind of essential oils, carrier oils work well for pressing things that are loose in. And then over here, this was where the matte bronzer was. This is a whole bunch of different things. This is Totally Fetch from the Chocolate Bonbons palette mixed with a couple of lighter colors mixed with a pink from another eyeshadow palette, and I just turned it into a blush. I know it's bright, but it's kind of a cooler tone blush, and I like it. I want this to be a pretty what's the word? A versatile palette, so I can carry it with me when I travel. And I love the champagne highlighter. That's a pretty versatile highlighter. So that's why I frankened this the way I did. So there's that. Next, I'm going to show you what I put in the palette instead of Totally Fetch. Okay, I know it looks pretty similar, but it's a deeper shade. Well, I wouldn't say deeper. It's a more subtle shade than what Totally Fetch was. I'm gonna show it to you. Swatch it for you. I'm having trouble with words today, y'all. Okay. So Totally Fetch is a pretty bright, like screaming pink, which I don't understand why they included it in this palette, because it doesn't really go with the other pinks that well. The reason I bought this palette is because it was like $15 at TJ Maxx, and I do like the lighter two pinks. I like Bordeaux and Black Currant, and I love this Earl Grey color. I pretty much bought it for those, and because, like it or not, I do need some neutrals in my life occasionally. So, alright, now this is my Totally Fetch now. It's a little warmer, I think, than the original Totally Fetch. And I like it better, and I feel like it goes better with these two pinks. And I just didn't like the finish on this. I tried it on my eyes, and the color payoff just wasn't working, but the one I frankened works better. So I just added in a couple of eyeshadow formulas that I know I like. I added in some BH Cosmetics in there, and I figured that would help, and it did. So yeah, franken that bitch. Okay. And then, what? Yeah, I don't need to do that. Why do I always do that when I'm filming these videos? I always put my hand over the camera because I'm dumb. No, not really. Okay, this one is going to be a little bit difficult because flipping open a palette with one hand when you have arthritis is difficult. But anyway, okay, this is the Midnight Affair palette from BH Cosmetics. I love their formula, as I just said. And I do like this palette, but like it wasn't really working for me, and I couldn't figure out why. And so I ended up decluttering it to my mom. She tried to use it, and it made her eyes water. So, and I just closed it because, it popped open pretty good. Okay, but it made her eyes water. So she gave it back to me to try to give it another home, and I decided to franken it. So this is what it looks like, or looked like originally. And this is what it looks like now. If you can tell, I took these two colors here and frankened those. The lighter colors don't show up on my skin. I don't like light mattes because they don't show up. A light shimmer works. The shimmer will make it show up on my skin. A light matte does not show up. And if you can tell, this was kind of like a gray purple, and this was a really light, pale-ish purple. It's almost like just an off-white. And yeah, a lot of people would use those as base shades. But I don't know. I felt like those two shades were taking up space that shades this palette was missing could use. So I frankened it. I have discovered that I really like mid-tone shades. They are my jam, and I don't like too light. I don't like too dark. In this light, this shade looks a lot lighter than it actually is. Actually, this whole palette looks a lot lighter than it actually is. It's pretty dark, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this brown. I might, because I think it goes pretty well with this pink here, and that goes pretty well with this pink up here. Focus, camera. There we go. But I don't know. I'm going to play with it a little bit more before I decide to take that out. I do love the silver. I do love the sparkly black. I love that you can do blue looks with this palette. I love that you can do smoky purple looks with this palette. I love that you can do pinkish purple looks with this palette, but it was missing a kind of mid-tone, what do you call it, transition shade. So this one is a little bit darker than this one. I don't know if you can really tell, but it is. Just ever so slightly. Let me see if I can swatch them and you can tell the difference. I'm going to do it on my right hand this time because my left hand is getting a little bit full. So let's see if you can tell the difference, because I can a little bit, but I was the one frankening them, so yeah, you can tell. All right. Okay, so the shade on the right is the left shade in the palette, and the shade on the left is the right shade in the palette. There is a slight difference in tone. The one on the right on my hand is slightly pinker, and the one on the left on my hand is slightly more purple. There's very, very, very little difference. But it's enough of a difference that it's actually going to contribute to this palette and make it better. So I think I'm going to use this palette more now that I've frankened it, which is a good thing. That was the goal. And I really like it. I feel so much better about it because I don't like shades that are too light, and I don't like shades that are too dark. I'm still not sure about these two shades here. Hold on. There we go. This shade and this shade. Still not sure about these two shades. Or this one here. They're still a little bit dark. So they might get some franken in before it's over with, but who knows. I will update you if I franken this anymore. Okay, that's it for that one. And then I wanted to show you guys this palette. This is the Atlantis palette from Face Candy. I frankened 3 shades in this palette because two were too light and one was too dark. Okay, I'm going to flip it open. Okay, I know it doesn't look the best right now, but what happens a lot of times when you franken is marbling. So yeah, okay, and it's really funny because this shade right here, White Caps, was a really, really light shade. It was like an off-white, kind of like in the other palette. And I had this shade down here, Empire. It was a very, very dark navy blue. But now this shade, it's almost like I moved Empire to up here. But I changed the tone of it a good bit. It's kind of hard to tell right now, I think, because it probably looks a little bit, I'm not really sure what the word for it is. Like it kind of has like a haze over it or a film over it. But this is what it looks like now. I'm going to swatch all the shades for you that I frankened. These two shades, okay, like I said, this was an off-white kind of shade. And this shade was very similar to this one, except this one is a little bit bluer than this one was. This was probably lighter and a little bit more gray toned. It's almost like a darker version of this one. They were just too light. They were just too light. And I didn't like them when I looked in the palette. I didn't know what to do with them. It was, yeah, terrible. So, and this one is not my best Franken. It still has some chunks of some colors in it, but, you know, you win some, you lose some. So, I'm going to do that one. And once again, the name of the game is midtones. They were too light, and this one was too dark. So, after I Frankened these two, I had some left over. Like, basically, I had some left over from this one, so I made this one. I had some left over from this one, so I made this one. And, you know, like, I don't always fully plan to Franken a palette at one time while I'm doing it. Usually, it's just one shade that I want to do. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where to put this one. I think it'll go right there. Alright. But I'm going to show you guys now what these shades look like, if I can. Okay. So the first shade up against my knuckles was the second shade in the palette. That one that has that little splotch in it. And it's now a shimmer shade. All of the shades that I Frankened were mattes, and now 2 of them are shimmers because I prefer shimmer shades as well as preferring mid-tones to really dark or really light. So that is now a shimmer. It's very pretty. I really like it a lot. That middle one is basically Empire, just kind of lightened up and kind of grayed a little bit. It was just too dark. It was powdery. You picked up a lot on your brush every time you used it, and it just got to be way too much. I couldn't even really use it as a liner. It was just a mess every time I used it. So I lightened it up a little bit and kind of grayed it out a little bit because I felt like that's something that this palette could use. And then I made basically a lighter aquamarine shimmer, which this palette did not have. So it does have, it might look like this shade and this shade are similar, but really this shade is a much more antique blue kind of shade, and this one is like a really vibrant, like the shade in the pan is the shade it is. And neither of the other 2 shades, because this is a shimmer and this is like a true blue, they are not the same shade as this or this. These are very dark teal colors. So none of the shades repeat, and I really like that about it. And I feel like I could actually make a look with this and this. So I really like that about it. Also, I felt like Tsunami didn't have a good shade to go over, and I feel like it'll go over this one pretty well as a topper shade. You can hear Betty whining. Who knows what she wants, because she is kind of just having a day. Dean is twerp face and Betty is whiny butt. And when she doesn't get her way, she sings the song of her people, which is an anthem of the whiny butts. And she just whines and whines and whines outside my mom's house. And she's like, Mom, I'm ready to go home. Why aren't you coming outside? Anyway, so yeah. But I really like this palette a lot more. If you can tell, this shade has been through a little bit. I dropped the palette and it just went everywhere, so I had to repress it. So that's why it looks all like jacked up. I should probably press it again to make it a little bit better. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this one. It is a very light color, but it is a shimmer. And I do like that it's a very, very pale shimmer. So for now, I'm keeping that one. I'm keeping Abyss. Believe it or not, it is dark enough that I'm willing to keep it for now. And I do like the color a lot. Also, I have the Just My Luck palette. Not Just My Luck. The, give me a minute. Blue Skies? what is this called? Blue Moon! Lord bless it. I do have the Blue Moon palette. I have yet to use it, as you can tell, because it still has the little thing in it. And I feel like these two palettes now complement each other a lot more than they did. So I'm really happy. And I still have a very dark blue in here. And I did want a matte royal blue, but I knew I had one in here. This is definitely more blue than this or this. So I didn't recreate anything that I already had, which I'm really proud of. I do kind of feel like this could use like a sparkly white, but I think that this shade title will do enough. It'll be light enough. And then there's this Lumi shade that has that blue duochrome. So I'm happy with what I have made. I will get back to you guys on, you know, if it's increased use in my palettes and for visual. While I'm finishing up my outro, we're going to put my little sloth here. I found him in Aldi. So he is, and my window is dirty. So ignore the window. Let's focus on the sloth face. There we go. But he's wishing you a good day. Anyway, so I'll update you guys on whether this increased the use in the palettes. I was not using the Atlantis palette very much because I felt like it wasn't very cohesive. I wasn't using the Midnight Affair palette because I felt like it was missing those mid-tone transition shades. And a lot of times you do have to make things your own to suit your taste and to suit your skin tone. So I've just found eyeshadow palettes have a lot of too light or too dark. They don't have a lot of mid-tone. But I think that's one reason why I really fell for the Urban Decay Born to Run palette, because I do feel like it's got more mid-tones than most palettes. So that's probably what the appeal was for me. I originally did not want that palette. And then I swatched it and I saw it up against my skin and I was like, hello, gorgeous. And I ended up getting it. I got one from Poshmark. So, all right. Well, anyway, I have not named the sloth yet. I might name him Valentino because I got him around Valentine's Day. And yes, I bought him for myself because Cuddle Dragon and I don't do Valentine's Day, as I mentioned. But anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to encourage you not to be scared to play around with your makeup. If there's something in a palette you don't like, or there's something you feel like it's missing, make it your own. Like, do it. Because it's just makeup. It's just makeup. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Just play around until you find something you like. That's what I did. I still have a couple of containers in my bathroom that are like left over from where I was just making the shade that I wanted, and I'll hold on to them and I'll use them in other I guess experiments. But I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope this was an enjoyable video. I know I haven't been around a lot lately, but I wanted to put something up. And I will catch y'all later. I'll see you in my next video. And I hope that you're well until then. Bye.